All right, so sometimes last week, some leaders in the city, including Honorable John Kerry, came out to say that the city was not being run in how it should be. I'll not use his words, he'll have to say it himself. But also on Saturday night, the city experienced a bit of floods, which we'll be looking at the pictures right there. Many motorists were stranded to different locations. Of course, stretching all the way from Nairobi to the nearby counties of Machakos. And Kenyans have been, in the city, have been complaining about the situation, raising questions as to the drainage. Is it the infrastructure? What exactly is the problem? Let's begin with you, Honorable KJ.
Thank you very much, Sam. And yes, indeed, leaders extracted from the Kenya Kwanza Coalition did issue a press statement regarding the state of the city-county. And it is true, we spelt out what we feel is not working, especially from the highest office at City Hall. You have wanted to associate that with the flooding in the city. And I'd like to, on the onset, say that we can't wholly blame the situation of the flooding on just the leadership. We've also got to see the place for how we have developed as a community and look at what was traditionally our rivers, our riverbeds, the riparians, and so on, and see that we have actually planted development in places that we shouldn't, even as the residents of Nairobi. But the buck stops at City Hall. I remember having a conversation with Governor Sakaja a few months ago, where I was talking to him about the principle of making hay while the sun shines. I did expressly ask if there is any plans for working on the drainage in the city and around the city to ensure that there will be a good flow of drain water and storm water when the rains come. And the assurance I got from the governor was that everything has been done to clear the drainages, to clear the waterways, and I was assured that when the rains come, that we will not be expecting floodings. But here we are. That is not the matter. The matter that we raised, Sam, was a matter of leadership. The least that this city expected from city leadership was a plan. At the moment, I can tell you that the city is running Kyududo. And that is the word that you are hesitating to
How does that mean?
The city is running laissez-faire, haphazardly, no plan, erratic reactionary efforts that are so disjointed that they do not speak to each other. The least this city expected was a plan, a master plan, a blueprint, a Marshall Plan that is well developed, that tells us this is exactly where we are. These are the quick wins that are available for the city. This is what we are planning on the intermediate, in the medium term. And for posterity, this is what we are setting foundations for. Such a master plan does not exist today. As we speak, the city is running on the goodwill of what had been done previously by previous administration, completing the projects that were left, and nothing new has been pronounced as a master plan or as a blueprint. We do not even know what the leadership thinks of the Nairobi that we want to have. What we are getting are pronouncements that are disjointed. One morning, they will wake up with a pronouncement that they have kicked hawkers out of the city. The next morning, they will tell us that 70-story buildings are okay in the city and there is no need for zoning. The next thing we know is that we have been allowed to film in the city center and so on. Very disjointed pronouncements. So when you look back, Sam, the development of any city rests on a master plan. The last master plan that Nairobi had, the proper master plan, must have been in the 40s. In the 70s, there was an attempt of putting up a municipal plan. After that, the only other master plan we have ever had was the one by Mayor Steve King'ori. You remember the very flamboyant mayor who came and called the city to a conference. I think it must have been Safari Park, and gave this beautiful plan. It was called the Nairobi We Want by Mayor Steve King'ori. After that, everything else has been super haphazard, and even worse, from an administration that we expected so much from. So some, regarding the press conference that we issued last week, all I can say is that it did not have to come to this. However, the leadership of this city, and no less the governor himself, has brought it to what it has become. And it will be sacrilegious for leaders in the city to sit back and act like everything is okay. Well, the preoccupation in City Hall is for the governor to use whatever resources he's using to pit leaders against each other in very petty squabbles that are unnecessary.
That's an accusation the governor has no right of reply here. So maybe you may not want to go there. Others are just, those are your opinions.
I put it out as a statement of fact, but the point I'm trying to make...
I mean, you're saying that he's using resources to put leaders against each other.
It's common knowledge, Sam. It is out there.
So how much money has he allocated to that?
Let us not dwell on that, Sam.
No, you raised it. I asked you not to go there. You insist that it's a statement of fact.
Sam, we have an entire city to take care of, and a discussion cannot be come to the petty.
This is what I'm saying, Honorable John Kerry.
The issue
You've raised an issue.
Yes.
I've told you the governor is not here for right of reply. You've said it's a statement of fact, and you're insisting on it. So it is fair that you put out the facts out there. If you don't have the facts, you take it back.
Okay. For the interest of the continuation of this debate, I will take it back. The fact is that there is money being spent on pitting leaders against each other in very petty squabbles. And because we would not want to dwell on just the leadership in Nairobi, we can deal with the issues. And the point I was making, Sam, is that the least that we expected from a leadership of the caliber that is led by the Governor Sakaja was a master plan, plan as to how Nairobi ought to develop.
Okay,
doesn't negate the fact that he himself is involved in pitting leaders against each other within the city, and you might be surprised to hear it from even this panel.
Honorable Kerry, please,
who are leaders in Nairobi.
Desist from that. You have not about the facts.
I'm well guided,
so
Sam.
I will once again say that those are your views and not those of Citizen TV. Janet, talk to me about what you're witnessing, and is it that the rains are, excuse me, the rains are too much, or it's, like he says, are planning? Is it challenges with our drainage? Is it that clearing of the drainage has not happened? What are you dealing with here?
Okay, thank you, Sam. I'm very tickled this morning because they say when you marry a prostitute, when you insist on marrying one, don't complain when they don't turn up at night. This is a case of a UDA coalition that we told that clearly good people. What are you talking about? What is the criteria of us arriving at a governor? What are their experience? What have they managed in the past? Are you really serious about giving us someone whose academic credentials are in public contestation? Then here, as my friend KJ introducing very complex concepts about planning, interpreting urban plans, and so on. Where do you expect this guy to get this kind of competence from? We have to be very serious as Nairobians. We made our bed. We lay on it properly. We have insisted for a very long time on people that do not have any experience of managing anything, let alone managing the biggest city in Eastern Africa. Those are the people that we have insisted ourselves that these are the people that we want to manage the city. Then we come back and ask them complex questions. No, let us contend with the drama. Let us contend with the PR stints, because that is what it is for us. And I think we've said this severally, that big coalitions, because the issue of a governor is not like the issue of an MCA that can be influenced at a village level. Voters have got nothing to do with deciding who becomes the governor. It is actually the big coalitions that decide for us who is going to be the governor, who is going to be the senator, who is going to be the women rep, and so on and so forth. So the least we are expecting for now, we are expecting the UDA part of this bargain to take responsibility for the kind of leadership that they have ensured sits at City Hall. We are not expecting them to be complaining with us as we complain. We are expecting them to do something. If they really feel that this governor is not articulating the UDA manifesto, is not doing as is supposed to be done, then there's something that we are expecting them to do. Can you imagine the other day we saw the deputy president speaking about people that have got no papers? Clearly, are we serious as a republic? So you have it, you know too well. This particular coalition went all the way to ensure that people possess papers that they do right now. 2 years shy, we are now here crying and saying people who have fake degrees to vacate office. Are you kidding us? You know, we see...
What do you mean with that? That they went all out to ensure people who don't have papers have?
Yes, these issues are some. I know you're being very judicious, but it is in the public domain that the governor of Nairobi had issues with their academic certificates. Those are issues that are out there. There were those issues. So if really you're a political party that believes in the role...
Administration.
The role of that particular administration is clearing people. It is if the political party decides that as part of what we believe in, we are not signing off people that have got criminal records, that have got fake or forged or alleged forged academic credentials. That is a responsibility that we are expecting the UDA political party to take on board. Come out and apologize to Nairobians for entertaining some kinds of things, because we know and we knew and we said it, that really leading Nairobi requires a particular level of competence. Look at what we keep repeating. Look at what we keep repeating. We are not able to engage particular people on certain concepts because we lack the evidence of what they have done in the past. What is there? And I really like saying this. Nairobi has shamed us for a very long time. If you look at the kinds of governors other even humbler counties are bringing on board, you cannot really compare with what we fall in love with as Nairobians. And we do this, and then 2 years down the line, we are here asking for urban plans. We are here asking for complex concepts. Where are we expecting these guys to possess? Leadership is not grown like beans. You're not expecting that someone grew it in 6 months, that now they are this kind of a leader that appreciates all these kinds of things. Nairobians, we really need to be serious. Honorable KJ, welcome on board. The other part of the issue is that the Nairobi members of parliament, we really need them to start pronouncing themselves on these matters. I sat in the last dispensation, and I didn't like this concept of the members of parliament saying, we are elected to serve our constituents. There is no Mathare constituent and a county government of Nairobi constituent. So I really want to invite the members of parliament of Nairobi to know that the public is expecting that you come out and tell this county, how do we move forward as Nairobi? And I'm very glad when I saw the UDA brigade coming out, because these are the same people that worked with Sakaja on tracks and convincing us that this is how the county should be managed. Okay. So don't leave it for certain people. It's really a welcome idea to see that the Nairobi members of parliament are coming on board and saying, no, this is not what we do. Because the remaining 2.5 years are too much sum. If you want to think about the haphazard, the impromptu, Honorable KJ is calling it Kyududo. If you think about Kyududo, you know, that haphazard sort of management, and you think about the health sector of this county, it is not possible. And you think about the education sector, you cannot do those kinds of sectors that way. You ought to have a plan that you implement with fidelity, back it up with funding, and correct monitoring and evaluation procedures.
All right. I hear you, Janet. You raised a few questions there about the academic qualifications of the current governor, but I also recall that the High Court actually dismissed a case that was challenging, or that was claiming that he had committed fraud in producing a degree from TUM University in Uganda. Well, that's what it is.
Could we have required the owners of the statement, because they even including some governors, could we have demanded that the owners of the statement tell us what governors they are speaking about? Maybe
the next time we have a moment with the Deputy President, we might want to pose the question.
Some that would be in contest, the issue about papers. What is not in contest, it is in the public domain, is the report of the Auditor General. That one, there is no contestation about it. If we are talking about a morally decadent administration, the indictment is there. There has not been a contest on whether the facts laid bare by the Auditor General are true or false. It is true that there is a lot of pilferage, a lot of mismanagement, a lot of misprioritization, and a lot of theft of public monies, as indicated by the Auditor General's report, which in itself spells out some extremely untenable goings-on at
All right.
City Hall.
Let me hear from Honorable Loch, because yes, the city is facing different challenges, whether it's social or infrastructural wise, and it appears that the two colleagues are attributing it to the top leadership of the county. What is your diagnosis, and what would be your prescription if you had to find a solution?
Number one, I would myself avoid discussion, not that it is not an important discussion, on the personality, the qualification of the person. I think Nairobians made a choice, the courts made a decision, so those who made this choice must lie on their bed. So I don't want to go into that discussion myself. And I mean, on a light note, if your neighbor's house is burning, I mean, your adversary, you cannot be too quick to look for a fire extinguisher to try and put it off. So if the Kenya Kwanza,
you're a bad neighbor.
If the Kenya Kwanza, I like to be a bad neighbor sometimes for good reasons. I mean, sometimes you must allow yourself to be bad so that people can see the good that you're trying to bring out, which people never saw. Myself, I think there are two things here, and I want to take the governor, I want to raise the discussion to a level where I think it should be, that the governor was elected and we have 2-3 million Kenyans who expect that their shilling, which I think KJ now we appropriate is about, Nairobi gets close to about 9-10 billion, 15 billion. I think it's about 15
almost 20.
billion. So I think let's raise the discussion there. Yeah? People juggle at the Senate and at the national level over this issue of how much should go into the county. Devolution was supposed to revolutionize and decentralize services. So let's start by saying, where is this 15 billion shilling? Yeah, there was this mantra which I think at some point I liked, because I thought if it could work, then let's work. I mean, if I could get out of 15 billion, a billion shillings in Mathare, let me tell you, Mathare would stop being a slum. Mathare would be Kilimani or some other place. If I had a billion shillings every financial year, let me tell you, Mathare would not be the flood places, the sewage broken, the infrastructure that is congested and stuff like that. So let's begin by probing, is Nairobi working? Because the governor said, itawak, lazima iwak. Yeah? And I think that's where the discussion needs to be. I don't want to go into auditors, but I think we need to centralize our discussion into, if it is not working, why? Is it a structural problem? Is it a software issue? Is it a hardware issue? Yeah? We have 2-3 years, and I think it would be foolhardy for us to concentrate on a discussion about governance issues, personality issues, when we have counties that have 2-3 billion, and they, like she has said, and they are making a lot of changes in the lives of people on healthcare, yeah, on issues of education, on issues of infrastructure, on issues of agriculture, yeah. Nairobi, if I was to put it this way, Nairobi serves not only just the population that I've talked about, it serves a lot of international organization. We have an international airport here, which the other day you saw leaking, yeah. There is this Larry Madowo clip that I saw him landing at the airport and floods running at our airports, yeah? Of course, I've seen the same thing happening in Dubai. That's no excuse. You have a situation in which...
floods at the airport?
Yes. I don't know whether I saw the clip myself or Larry Madowo.
Some did not see it.
Landing at the airport, and the airport was flooded, and you're saying people shouldn't tell us not to ask this question. We should ask this question.
I think what I saw are pockets of the potholes with the water.
No.
There were floods literally.
There were floods literally. It does not get to the Dubai airport kind of situation, but it is bad. And it is not the kind of leakage you're saying that Murkomen went to look at the airport. It is not. So if you leave alone the 15 billion that should work for us, according to the governor's mantra of itawak, lazima iwak, you must also go back to a promise that he made that he would divide Nairobi into boroughs. Yeah? And I'd like to take him up on those issues on how far he has gone, because this speaks to there was supposed to be a jigging or complete overhaul of the blueprint and the work plan that KJ says is well non-existent, but there is one. I mean, we had one, I think, whether it was put in the 40s or in the 60s. There was one, but I think one that is now so outdated that we should not be speaking about putting 15 billion. And if I was Senate, I would not put another billion shilling in Nairobi unless we presented a master plan, a new system, a new structure based on which that money would work. Because then what we are doing is we are putting good money after bad on non-existent systems. So unless this system is overhauled so that when you put money, it would go to proper running of sewages, opening up of drum strains, development structure that is structured in a way that is not, and I want to put this at the doorstep of the previous administration. We have structures that were planned in this side of town, Kilimani, Kileleshwa, Lavington, that were not supposed to go beyond 2 floors up. And then I think in the administration of Kidero, I don't know whether it was Kidero or Sonko, where leases were expiring, and all those leases and the work plan were changed overnight. And now you have a building that is the type of citizen, yeah, and you've planned it and put sewages based on this kind of work plan, and then you have a Chinese high-rise going to 17th floor and you need a lift to go there. There are people who literally were forced to abandon properties running into millions of shillings and change them into places, entertainment places. Why? Because the utility of it and the privacy has completely gone. So when he promised that he would divide Nairobi into boroughs, yeah, these boroughs were supposed to administratively be able to decentralize county services from where it is to there, so that our sewages, we can now go to Mathare, me and Ruaraka and Embakasi, to a borough there called Borough East Nairobi, whatever it is, isn't it? And then follow this 15 billion with a portion of that which needs to go to that place to help us unlock those issues. A portion of that money that goes into infrastructure and other things. So I will leave that there and go to how then this works around other multi-agency organs. Right. For example, we have KERA, yeah, which basically deals with rehabilitation and recarpeting and basically just emergency services when we have, and they have done quite a lot. We do a lot of what the county does by opening up drainage systems. I don't know, you have those in your own constituencies, and we put money, but those cannot be what ought to be the solution. There is county money that is either county money, Kura, roads that are classified as Kura. Right. Where you have, I think, double, triple, or even quadruple the amount of money that is allocated to KERA that we use to open up drainage switch. What does this money do? KJ, if you ask me, and we had a meeting recently with CAs of roads, and I asked them, what is the philosophy that surrounds how KERA money works, what it should do? And the question that I'm asking of the 15 billion that goes to Nairobi, I asked to the CS, where does the KERA money go? Because if what I saw in terms of the hundreds of millions of money that are allocated to Kura, I mean Kura, not KERA money, Mathare would not be having the kind of flood situations that we have. Yeah? Then I was told that there is a certain system, a network of Kura, where Kura works, so that Mathare is actually not in those. And I asked myself, how do you not have an informal settlement that is most affected with dilapidated roads, sewage that don't work, drainages that are non-existent, is not in the Kura network? Meaning that the hundreds of billions of money that we allocate to the Kura does not benefit Mathare constituency. And so I think I told the CS and the team of Nairobi MPs that were there that this is a question of equity, equality, equalization, and equal access to resources of this country. If you told me, for example, that his constituency in Dagoretti, because of some classification, would not benefit from money that his taxpayers pay, then we must ask ourselves what are the foundational principles upon which, under Article, I think, 15, or is it Chapter 15 of the Constitution, which says that public money must be used in a manner that is equitable, prudent. The principle around public financing. Yes. So I think then when we are talking about the county, I think it is more of a software issue that we need to change. We are dealing with a hardware issue where we are putting good money on a system and a hardware that will not help anyone. Right. I think we need to change the software and rejig Nairobi and restructure Nairobi so that the money from whatever place it is, whether it is the 15 billion or the other national government money like the Kura money and the Kera money and the other things, then can be put together. And my last point is this.
So who does that? Is it the county itself or is it the legislative arms?
I think it is something that we have to do nationally. Yeah? For my part, I think the county will answer the question as to how they come up with the master plan then that is current, so that this money is appropriated at the national level, division of revenue. Yeah, that conversation we must have there before division of revenue. Can we fix the software? Because you're dividing money to go into a non-existent system. There is no system. In short, we are throwing 15 billion to a system that is non-existent.
This is important because...
it is important. I just want to clarify something here, that I checked the County Allocation of Revenue Act 2023-2024 allocates Nairobi County 20 billion shillings, and the budget for the current financial year is 42.3 billion shillings, which is also funded by own source revenues and other sources of resources. And I want us to continue that conversation, also reflecting on the education infrastructure in the city county, because recently CS for Education, Ezekiel Machogu, said that 69% of schools that children in Nairobi go to are not government. They could be private, they could be those others that brought about, is it the alternative route to access to education?
You're right. You have hit the nail on the head, Sam. Let's start with just the monies. That this parliament in division of revenue does put some money that goes to counties. And in the current financial year, we are talking monies coming from the central government to the tune of around 20 billion. Also remember that Nairobi is a city that has the capacity to raise its own sourced revenue to the tune of around 19 to 20 something billion Kenya shillings. So we are talking about around 40 to 45 billion Kenya shillings annually. So the formula that the Honourable Member for Mathare is bringing is our own pedestrian way of thinking, saying to ourselves that if there is 40 billion Kenya shillings going to Nairobi City County, then at the very least, we in Dagoretti South constituency should be feeling the impact of around 2 billion Kenya shillings annually. That means 40 billion Kenya shillings divided by the 17 constituencies, and we shall arrive to the equity that we are talking about. I hesitate to use this term that in a work, but because it has been put out there, we've got to ask ourselves, if we were to ever get to that situation where we are saying that it is working, what would be working? And the Constitution in the 4th schedule sets aside that which a county ought to do. Around 14 odd responsibilities of the county that are ranging from, agriculture, county health services, control of air pollution, management of waters into the homes and out of the homes, county transport, animal control, trade and development, county planning, pre-primary education, county public works, firefighting, control of drugs and pornography, ensuring coordination and participation at local level. And all these are functions that would now bring us to a Nairobi that is working. Let us start from the basics.
You don't feel anything is working right there?
Start from the basics. The least someone needs to be able to operate in a city is to be able to live safely and to be able to work to the best of their ability. To do that, you need the basics. Start with transport. Sam, we all know that the solution to the city traffic problem is proper public transport. The moment we are able to transport our people well, we have already dealt with half of the problems in the city, because then people are able to produce more, people are able to pay more rates, people are able to pay more taxes, they're able to even self-actualize better, and as such, a better city.
Right.
Transport today in the city is not working. The basics, garbage collection, on your way to Dagoretti, if you were to take the road, the Gitanga Road, Sam, today as we speak, there is a mountain of garbage, probably 2 times the size of this studio that we are in, that keeps mounting every other waking day. This mountain of garbage is not on the side of the road. It is right in the middle of the road. So a road that has previously been repaired through the Kura allocations to Dagoretti North constituency, which is a constituency that neighbors us, that road is now dilapidated in a few months just from mismanagement of garbage. I was giving these 2 examples because they're the basics. Okay. We haven't talked about water. And when we talk about water, we talk about the quality and the sufficiency of such water getting into homes, getting used by the populace, and then being piped out of those homes or being drained out of it in the sanitation plan that a city county would come up with.
In your view, is it the supply available, or is it the network that is the problem, especially for water that you mentioned?
Well, Sam, I had a first row seat in this issue of water, because in the periods between 2007 and 2013, I served as a director at the Athi Water Services Board. And being the chairperson of the Business Development and Strategy Committee at Athi Water Services Board, I remember vividly that we came up with the Nairobi Water Master Plan. And the Nairobi Water Master Plan was stipulating how we can take Nairobi from a point of water deficiency to being a water sufficient county. After the master plan, everything else was auto-implementing. And that is why we were expecting at a time such as this, we would already have had the county government doing its part of the bargain, not just waiting for the first and second Northern Collector Tunnel. Nairobi City County should have engaged itself right now on improving the water infrastructure. Some, you're drinking water out of pipes that were laid out in the 40s. They were metal pipes, meaning that they are corroded or they are rusting, or they have even been infiltrated by drainage water, by sewage water. These would not be coming out of the people providing water. This is the responsibility of the county government. The infrastructure therein is the work of the county government. Okay. And hence, again, brings the big question of where is the plan for Nairobi going forward.
Okay, all right, I hear you. And I mean, these issues are deep and wide.
Allow me, because you asked me a question. You asked me a question on the education. Allow me to just finish.
I'll get back to you, but first let me hear from Janet, because I don't want us to lose that point. Children in Nairobi have to study in private institutions. When they get to the secondary schools, majority of them, and if you look at even the statistics from KCPE versus KCSE, majority of them have to step out of Nairobi to look for schools, whether it's in central Kenya, eastern, or even Kajiado areas. What is going on, and are there possible solutions that the city county, because I mean, you control 27% of the GDP in terms of your contribution. Majority of the taxpayers, you would say, actually in Nairobi, but the services are not in Nairobi, they are elsewhere.
And that is why I began from when I said that I have been a CC member, and at that I know that a lot of the management of the county is totally dependent on the person that is the governor. And that is why, Honorable Oluoch, we must discuss and ask ourselves, who is the governor? Because all these ideas that are coming are dependent on their goodwill, are dependent on what do they value most. Because the county is not like the national government that is so static and very well established. The governor manipulates. And that's why you see when a governor comes in, they come in with their flagship. They come in with their flagship projects. So when you interrogate that flagship, we'll tell you the kind of person you have a conversation with. Let's think about the admission that was made by the Cabinet Secretary. And when the Cabinet Secretary tells you, please know that they have got the data, that 69% of Nairobi children at current are attending private public institutions. We have the county government of Nairobi spending the bulk of their money on lunch program. I want to say sitting here that 1.7 billion Kenya shillings 1 year has the potential of building 100 million school complexes in all the 17 constituencies. Let me tell you, I know that people have developed a habit of sloganeering, sloganeering so that you carry and you rally everybody on board. But that does not last long, because it doesn't change the facts, it doesn't change the data. That look, you are spending the county's lion budget. There is nothing, no other expenditure in the county that beats the school feeding program.
How would the county explain that, knowing that education is a national function?
And how would a county explain that they are feeding? What a contradiction. And those are the same arguments that we have had, that look, this is a national government function. But since you have decided to do it, can you put our money where we shall see it? Can you put our money where we are saying that you should put the money? Can you put the money where the impact will be felt? So what is the rationale of feeding a minority? What is the rationale of feeding a minority, letting... the context is that...
By minority, you mean that...
30% of children. It's only 30% of children that are spending the lion's share of the county budget. It doesn't make sense. If you ask someone, why are you not feeding children in the non-formal settlements? Their parents are taxpayers as well. You're using taxpayers' money. What is your rationale? So we are quick to, and I think it's a problem we've had. That politicians want the easiest, that you can rally children here, they sing for you and they dance and you post photos and you're saying children are happy. Children are not happy because for that child to first have access to that school, the parent must have paid 7,000 shillings, 10,000 shillings. Right. There are so many children who are not in school, not because of a plate of rice. That is a minority. There are. I'm not saying that there is no child today that is not able to go to school because of food. There are. But that is a minority in Nairobi. Children in Nairobi are not in school because there are no public facilities. And that is fact. Right. And the public facilities that do exist, even that 30%, visit one class today. It has 120 children in one classroom. Those are the issues that we are talking about. And that is why we are saying it requires depth. It requires depth so that we're able, like when Kidero was the governor, he built 6 brand new schools. Yes. 6 brand new schools. We wish those are some of the changes. We are not saying that we shall not feed. But can we bring all the children here today, and then next year or the next other year, we can think, how do we make all the children happy and healthy? But you cannot move with 30% and you ignore a 69% who are using their mothers are paying for them in private schools, others are falling out because households cannot afford, right. and you want us to think business as usual.
I hear you, Janet. Now, Honorable Oluwachi, we are running out of time, but I wish we had more time because this is an important issue. And when she talks about the informal settlements or non-formal settlements, I think that's what she used, and you're talking about students or pupils who have to go to... They appear like informal schools. I remember there's a time there was a fight between the government and some international organization. So what are we saying about the quality of education that our children are accessing, but also in the future, they will become the products of those institutions? We are not paying attention to that.
Thank you, Sam. And I want to try and see whether I can cover this in 2 minutes. This is very, very important. But before I say that, allow me to make one quick point on the issue of the county and why I was saying we need to solve the software issue. And this is where I think we depart a little bit, not that we disagree. I am thinking that if we solve the software issues around the county, systems that transcend an individual, if we can solve those problems and put governance structure, a proper work plan, systems where when we put money, the money goes there. It doesn't matter whether it's Akaja or whoever that comes in. That software, for me, needs to be the focus of what we solve. Otherwise, we will be putting a lot of money. And I want to buttress this by saying, recently there was a lawyer colleague of mine called Donald Kipkorir, and he put up a tweet which must send serious signals on governance, corruption, pilferage issues. You're talking about 30% of our money that we spend on school feeding and etc. a good amount of our money in the county is running down on pilferage. This is one case in which somebody with a pending bill is being called by a finance, and they're saying that the entire county government was there. And you're being told, we are going to pay you X amount of money if you part with 50%. This story has been running around. I have been seeing people, Nyakundi and other people running tweets, people building high-rises as a result of our tax money that should be developing and fixing sewages. They are being squandered in pending bills that are being paid for 50% kickback. And I'm told, and this is my last point on it, that these people are so insulated that they are saying even EACC will not touch them.
The top.
Payment collection system, they are saying, is resident that was developed under NMS at State House. That's what they are saying, and I have no way of verifying that.
Right.
They are saying that you cannot touch the governor and the leadership at the county because they have protection from the top and protection.
So who is our problem? Our problem is the governor in this regard.
I am saying
the State House is not our problem.
Let me just talk about yes.
I need to say something on this.
I need to get to Abet, but let me get your question. Yes. Oh, 1 minute. Let me get to Abet. Abet, in my view, this thing is one thing that is very, very little understood. I put up a bill in the 12th Parliament on ABET. ABET is Alternative Provision for Basic Education and Training. Alternative because you have a Basic Education Act 2013 that defines basic education to mean either public or private. Right. And this is where the problem begins. So I brought up an amendment to try and categorize and open up this so that people in informal settlements, Mathare, Mukuru, Kawangware, Kibera, wherever it is, can be able to be at the table when we discuss education against the background of 100% transition, against the background of free compulsory education and what is under Article 43, so that there is equity for everybody. There is some 3 million Kenyans who neither go to public schools and don't go to private schools. Mm-hmm. These are schools in Mathare and Kawangware, which on a Sunday is a church. In the evening, people are playing boxing or taekwondo and youth doing things there. It is a multi-structure that during the week then, like now on a Monday, right, it is then being used for children. In Mathare, and let me finish with these statistics, I have 80,000 school-going children. Only 24,000 can fit in my 8 public schools. So the question is, where do the rest go? The government cannot close its eyes against what is under Article 10 on equity, equality, equalization, free access to 3 million people in Kenya,
what in your view is the
56,000 of which these people go to a school that the government does not budget to, because we budget only for the public and private. And
so what is the solution?
The solution is an amendment that I have brought. I have brought an amendment in which we define education to expand it to include those who are public, those who are private, and those in informal settlement that go to neither, which are categorized as alternative. And my last point on that is
sorry, you can turn about
my very last point.
I have to share that time with the Honorable KJ, 25 seconds.
Thank you. What is the solution? The solution is that every leader at their level of jurisdiction ought to do something that offers a solution. Mm-hmm. For example, the primary schools and the secondary schools under the purview of the national government. If you come to a constituency like the Goretti constituency, the only development kitty we would be having is NGCDF. And out of the NGCDF that we get as the Goretti South constituency, we have been able to reconstruct all our primary schools, at least the classrooms that are being used. Not only have we been able to reconstruct the primary schools to bring them to a level where they can be good schools, we have also, in the last 5 years, constructed 6 new schools in the Goretti South constituency. I'm hearing Waziri Ouko telling us that the Kidero administration, in their term, an entire county, did 6 new schools. This is the Goretti South constituency with a kitty of less than 40 million development monies that comes to CDF, being able to build in excess of 6 schools in the last 5 years. Right. But most importantly, the question begs, what is it that we are taking as a priority in Nairobi City County? I think that school feeding is an important and critical thing. We started it out in Dagoretti South constituency. In fact, the model that is being utilized at the Nairobi City County is borrowed out of the Dagoretti South experience, where we were able to bring it up. But the only way school feeding is going to work is when it is a tripartite arrangement, where there is national government investment, a small county government investment, and a solution provider. At any point, when you want to take school feeding and run with it as a county issue, you will end up even in legal problems, where you are being told what is the jurisdiction of county government over primary and secondary schools.
All right.
The bigger solution now is that going forward, Sam, we as the citizens of Nairobi have to be open to a conversation. Is Nairobi to be taken as a county equal to all the other 47 counties? To my mind, I think there is a need for a metropolis in the city where we are able to manage this city county as a metropolitan area, because Nairobi is also dependent on bordering counties, including Kajiado, Kiambu, Murang'a, and so on, and Machakos. So I think the bigger conversation going forward, the software issue that Wakili is bringing, is to think of a metropolis in Nairobi City, because the Nairobi experiment as a county has totally failed.
And I have to leave it at that because you are practically out of time. And this is a conversation we'll have again, because you have to get to the nitty-gritties of it in the management of the city. Too important for the Republic, but also for the economy. And unfortunately, I do not have more time to take the feedback. I have to thank you, Honorable Anthony Oluoch from Mathare constituency, Janet Ouko, an educationist, and also John Kerry from Dagoretti South for making time for us of this conversation. So much more is up ahead. But for now, Sporty Monday comes to you.